Welcome. We're on the home page of the Upper Limb Impairment Calculator. This is an app for doing upper limb impairment calculations according to the AMA guides, editions 4 or 5, and even 3. This is the iOS version, which is designed for iPhone, but this is actually being done on an iPad. The older iPhones have a screen which is a little too small for it to be easily used, although the newer ones are fine. There is an Android version which does have some differences reflecting the different platform. I prefer the term limb to extremity, but they mean much the same thing. On the home page we have the home button, which is highlighted. We have a list of previously generated reports which you can search by typing in the name, and you have an about page which we'll get to later. If we go back to the home page and we want to select a new report, we just tap on add new report. We're taken to the patient detail page and we'll type in a name, although I won't bother typing in a full name. To select the date of birth, we just tap on that and select it from the Apple spinning wheels. You then select the gender and the side, and then to select the body part we tap on that, and that takes us to a list of the body parts. Down the bottom we have other, and in this context other refers to major upper limb amputations, that is those proximal to the metacarpophalangeal joints. If you do have one of those major amputations and you have a problem with the wrist, elbow or shoulder, you must do the range of motion first. It won't work the other way around. But we'll go with the thumb and tap back, and then we tap next. To go back you tap back, to go next page you tap next. To go from one line to the other you can either tap next or tap on the line itself, whichever you find easiest. Tap next. With the thumb we have a choice of no amputation or amputations distal to the metacarpophalangeal joint, or proximal amputations. If we select the proximal amputation and tap next, we are then taken to the three choices of impairment value for those amputations. If we select one of those, they will be automatically fed into the report at the end, into the upper limb impairment. We'll go back and we'll select the distal no amputation and tap next. We're then taken to the interphalangeal joint. We enter the flexion, 30 degrees. Now if we want to enter an extensor lag, we just put it in as the angle. There's no need to use a negative sign because neutral is 0 degrees. Anything on the flexor side for extension is an extensor lag, so 10 degrees of extensor lag. A minus sign is only used for hyperextension beyond neutral, such as is usual in the metacarpophalangeal joints. The plus sign is never used because it's mathematically meaningless in this situation. Minus sign is used for some situations with ankyloses, and that is explained more fully in the instructions which can be downloaded from the website. Tap next, taken to the metacarpophalangeal joint. Now with the radial abduction at the base of the thumb, with AMA 4 you only have a choice of abduction and ankylosis. With AMA 5 you've got a choice of abduction, lack of adduction, and of course ankylosis as well. So we'll go with the AMA 5. You'll notice as soon as the value is typed in, the impairment shows up there, and the total impairment for, in this case, the carpometacarpal joint. This little wheel here just represents the percentage of the task completed, and this summary up here, if you tap that, it'll show you the impairments thus far calculated. That's quite useful because you can check that everything is in order and then go back and correct it if it's not. And you can go back right to the start, from the very end right back to the start, and correct even the date of birth or the name if you wish. 3 centimetres of lack of adduction, say 6 centimetres of opposition. We then take it to the amputation page. Now with amputation, I've always found it a little difficult to correlate the patient with the pictures in the book. The amputation value is a straight line relationship for any one phalanx, so it lends itself quite readily to automation. So if for argument's sake we said that the amputation stump was 20 millimetres long of the distal phalanx and the contralateral one was 40 millimetres long, we get an amputation impairment value of 25%, which you would all know, but we'll make it a bit more interesting. 30 millimetre amputation stump and a 35 millimetre contralateral uninjured one. 7% amputation value. Sensation, as we know, is a proportion of the amputation impairment, with differences between the radial and ulnar sides for the different digits, and whether the sensory loss is partial or complete according to the 2-point discrimination. I prefer the term complete to total. I think it is actually more accurate. So the level we're talking about is the proximal most level of the sensory loss, treated as if it were an amputation stump. So if it's the distal phalanx and the entire distal phalanx is numb, then if that were an amputation, it would be 0 millimetres long. And we know that the phalanx was 35 millimetres long before it was amputated, and we can choose partial or complete. We'll go with complete. Do the same on the ulnar side. Now of course the ulnar and the radial sides do not have to match for either level or partial or completeness. Again we'll go with complete, and we're taken to the total sensory loss of this completely numb distal phalanx of the thumb of 25%, a figure that most of you would know automatically. But there's been an amputation and you can't be compensated for the sensory loss of a bit that's not there. So if we tap correct for amputation, we get a corrected value of 21%. What's happening in the background is the sensory component of the amputation is being subtracted from the result previously calculated. This is done with the values unrounded so that it's more fair to the patient. Other refers to such things as joint instabilities and that, and you can type in down here additional information, and typically what you would do, as I've pre-prepared, would be to type in comments that are typically refer to the impairment, what it is, and what table or figure you're relying on. We're told that if there's inherent stiffness in the joints before injury, we must take that into account, and that's a doddle with this app. What you do is you tap yes, and you're then taken through the joints again, and you put in the range of movement from the uninjured contralateral joints. Obviously these have got to be better than the injured side, otherwise you will get nonsense results and you wouldn't use it. What will happen is that the impairment value that's intrinsic, if you like, will be subtracted from the calculated intrinsic value. To add another body part, we tap yes and select the body part we want. So we'll choose the wrist on this occasion because we've already done part of the hand, and again we just go through and type in the values. And again we can have some other impairment, and again type in some comments there, but I won't bother doing that. Correcting for uninjured data, I won't do that either because we've already demonstrated that. And I won't add any more body parts, but you can add as many body parts as you like. You can do all the digits, every joint in the digits, all the joints in the upper limb, with corrections for uninjured values, and the app will handle it quite well, and it's very quick. We go to next. We are taken to a series of screens which are roughly equivalent to the last part of the upper extremity guide in the book. Amputations other than digits, well, we obviously haven't got one of those, but if we typed in something other that would show up here. Again, we can type in comments. The regional impairment of the upper limb is the value that has already been calculated, and that is pre-populated. Peripheral nervous system, things like complex regional pain syndrome, and you can type your comments in there again. The peripheral vascular impairment, the same thing, and other disorders not from the regional impairment. We're then taken to the impairment summary, which shows for this limb there is a 35% impairment because of the problems with the limb plus the complex regional pain syndrome or something, which is combined to give a value of 42%, which is a whole person impairment of 25%. If we tap next, we're taken to the assessment summary, and we could have accessed that at any time as we went along. We've got sync with iCloud tapped there. That means that it'll be saved across all your devices. So we can send a report. We tap on send report. It generates a PDF, and then we can email it off to whoever we like, and won't bother emailing it to anyone in this case. And we're taken back, and we've got AA3's report there. It will also be in the previously generated reports there, and we can open it up and tap view. You can email the reports after they've been generated as well. Now this is probably a little bit difficult to read on this screen in portrait mode, but you have the patient details across there, including the date of the report. I'll expand it and show you the details you get. Typically you would print it out in landscape mode, and one page would be just what we've got in front of us. So we've got the figure 1612, which refers to the interphalangeal joint. You've got the injured range of motion and impairment, the uninjured and the corrected values. Similarly for the amputation, you've got the figure there. The sensation says it's been corrected for amputation. And then the comments we typed in there, and you can have 6 lines. Abnormal range of motion, the total thumb impairment, the hand impairment, and across there the upper limb impairment. And if this was the only thing, you would have a whole person impairment of 8%. You only print out impaired values. The whole of that would take up one A4 page. And we've got the other things for the rest of the upper limb there. If you go to About, you're taken to the home page, the website page of the app. We have tested it thoroughly, and we think it's accurate. We appreciate any feedback, both positive and negative, and any suggestions, of course. If you want to you can now try the free version of the whole app for 30 days. If you want to upgrade, you've got to do it in 2 parts, either the hand or the rest of the upper limb. If you want both, you have to do it twice. The reason for that is we were asked by some people that said they only use the hand or only use the upper limb, and the way the App Store and the Google Play Store work, it has to be done that way. We're very pleased with it, and we thank you for watching and welcome any feedback. Thank you.